Good morning, everyone. Welcome into my office here at Bethany. Blessed to have you with me today. As we get ready for this week's worship, we actually have the parable of the good soil versus the rocky ground and the bad soil and the weeds. We all hope that within this parable, we are the good soil. We are the ones who receive the word from God and then are fruitful with it, that we bear fruit 30 times, 60 times, 100 times that which was planted within us. That's not always the case, of course. We are human. None of us are perfect. Those of us who receive the word, all of us who receive the word, we are not always good soil. We're certainly not perfect soil. Sometimes we are that path or that rocky ground or that area where there's some weeds. We're human. We can't always be good soil in the sense of this parable. We can try, we should try, but there's also reassurance here. We just have to look at the world around us. A few weeks ago, I was walking out the door here at church, and I noticed that there was one marigold that was actually growing in a crack in the asphalt next to the garden outside the door there. That amazed me. This little tiny marigold, and it had flowered to boot. This little tiny marigold had managed to grow in the crack in the asphalt instead of in the garden where it belonged. My point of sharing that is, of course, there is opportunity for fruitful growth to take place in soil or areas that are much less than perfect. So, do we need to be perfect soil to be fruitful? No. Growth can happen. A fruitful yield can happen even when we are not the good, perfect soil referred to in Jesus' parable. But we are trying to get there. We want to be more fruitful. We want to pray to be that good soil, that fertile soil for the world. We want to pray to be a fruitful yield and a good harvest for the world around us. And we can try each and every day to be more and more and more of that. But the reassurance is, even when we aren't perfect like that, we still produce a yield. We still produce a harvest. We still can grow and blossom. That's the blessing of grace. Grace reaches out to us, grants us opportunity again and again and again, even as we have failed. I think back to people like Peter. I mean, Peter, Peter was incredible because, you've got these stories back and forth. I mean, for one, Peter dropped everything, left his father to follow Jesus. Peter told Jesus, "You are the Messiah. I know exactly who you are." Peter asked Jesus, "Lord, ask me to step out of this boat onto the water and walk on the water as you do." But then we also see the side of Peter, which is that once he's out on the water, standing on top of the water, he panics and he starts to sink, and Jesus has to save him. Or we see Peter say to Jesus, "You can't go back to Jerusalem. I will not allow it." Or Peter denying even knowing Jesus to the women and other people that were following the temple guards and that had arrested him that night as he was being brought before the priests and then eventually Pontius Pilate. So you see both sides of Peter, the really good soil, the not so good soil, right? That's true of all of us, but the grace exists for each and every one of us. So when we are really good soil, we yield a big harvest. And in the moments when we are not such great soil, we still yield some. We still receive the opportunity. We're still planted within. We're not just left out. Grace. We're always being planted in by God. And there's always opportunity for growth. Sometimes really big growth, sometimes just a little bit of growth. Either way, God is always planting in us, and there's always opportunity for growth. I love this parable. I love the way Jesus teaches with the parables. It's just a fascinating thing that Jesus uses parables to teach us. It's just fascinating to watch him as our teacher. We'll talk more about that this week. Looking forward to seeing all of you. We have VBS going on as I speak. There's over 100 children here. It's really fun to see this place rocking and rolling each and every morning. Special thank you to all who have volunteered in different ways or given donations to make this week's VBS happen. We are blessed. That's a fruitful yield. It's a great harvest. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Thanks be to God. Amen.